also want this to be interactive throughout. So if you have any questions, please feel free to go off mute or drop a question in the chat. Right, before we get started, I wanted to quickly introduce a few others on the call today. I'm Charlene. I'm one of the account executives here at Marquee 360, covering our state and local government customers. I'm joined by Mia Reed, one of our solutions architects, who will be leading the demo, and Joelle Kampala from Microsoft, who is an account executive focused on supporting state and local government accounts there. Joelle, I'll give you a quick second to introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Joel Campella. I'm a Microsoft account executive here at Microsoft, supporting specifically our state and local government customers. I think this is a really pivotal webinar as I think about it in two senses. One is that when you look at Microsoft, we have a lot of resources, absolutely, and a lot of products that come with that. But with that is also some limitations and bandwidth where we can, assist and provide the support to our customers. So Marquee 360 has been a prominent partner for us, for me specifically, when it comes to planner and project. Just being able to rely on, some of their solutions architects and knowledge around planner has been very helpful because we do not have a specific Microsoft aligned resource to that specific solution area. So it's been great working with these folks here. And the second part of that is too, right, as we are nearing this transition from going to project to planner, it's a really good opportunity for customers to understand what are the changes, why those changes happen, and what is the next path that we take going forward for some of our customers. So Charlene, definitely appreciate you and Mia and Aaron and the team putting this together. And if there's any questions, I'll stay on as well. So if there's any questions in related to Microsoft licensing and how that works with your EA or CSP, I'll stay on as well to help, fill those questions.
Great. Thank you, Joelle. We're really happy to have you here, and you've been great to work with, so appreciate all your support. All right, I just want to give some background on Marquee 360 for anyone who is new or unfamiliar to us. We are a Microsoft Gold partner for work management and M365 cloud solutions, and that just means we've been recognized by Microsoft as a trusted partner to work side by side with their team in supporting their customers throughout their Microsoft investment. We focus our work on Microsoft 365 applications like Planner and Teams, but as well as the Power Platform with tools like Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power BI. Our founders are actually previous Microsoft employees and have been in the work management space for over 20 years. So they've seen all the iterations of Microsoft's project management tools. So everything from Project Server to Project Online, and more recently, Planner, which is where Microsoft is shifting a lot of their focus for work management. Just at a high level, these are the main areas that we focus on. We spend a lot of time helping customers extend the Microsoft Work Management platform, taking a consultative approach to designing the right solution, and then supporting organizations through implementations, trainings, and ongoing support after go live. All right, and as Joelle mentioned, most of you have probably heard that Project Online is being retired in September of 2026. So a lot of organizations are starting to plan what the next step looks like. And what we're seeing right now is that organizations are generally looking at two paths, either moving into Planner with extensions like PPM 360 to maintain the features and functionality that you're used to in Project Online, or moving to Project Server in cases where an on-prem or more traditional setup is still required. Here at Marquee 360, we do also have migration tools that help move project data from Project Online into new environments seamlessly without any downtime or interruption. The direction from Microsoft right now is the new Planner experience, which brings different types of work management into one place. We've seen a lot of improvements, even in the past few months with the new Planner. It's a lot more flexible, easier for teams to adopt, and fits in with the rest of your Microsoft tools like Teams, Outlook, and Loop. If anyone is on Project Online or interested in discussing different migration options offline, please feel free to contact me and I'm happy to set up time to review your specific setup and discuss, what the best path forward may be for your team. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Mia.
Thank you, Charlene. So,
Charlene, can I ask a quick note and just maybe a clarifying question, right? When we're talking about the transition from
Yeah.
project to planner, and on the Microsoft side, there are no need to purchase new licenses, correct? It's just the easy transition and then the migration that customers have to take place. Is that right?
That's correct. Right, Mia, if you want to add anything to that, but it's still the same project licenses that they carry.
yes, those project and planner licenses that you would use before Planner Plan 1 and Plan 3, right? Those carry over. So they
Okay.
cover the same roles and that part's pretty seamless. The only change typically is that usually there are less licenses needed because there are more features that are included with Planner.
Thanks.
All right. Charlene, do you want to take us over to the next slide? Thank you. So one thing that I just want to make sure we know going into this related to PPM 360, PPM 360 is our full project and portfolio management tool. So everything that you need to cover your projects throughout the entire project lifecycle is included with PPM 360. The basis of PPM 360 is Microsoft Planner. So Microsoft Planner, we just talked about the licensing portion of that, but it is excellent for managing tasks, making assignments, and collaborating with your team. There are some aspects of project management that are outside of just the task management. So that's what we use to build PPM 360. So we start with Planner and then we add to it, extend it with things like a Teams integration. We use Power Apps to track more of the timesheets and ideation and project details. We also use Power BI for reporting purposes to give your team the visibility to make good decisions. There also is Power Automate, which we use to have processes move from one stage to another. The basis of all of this is Microsoft and their cloud platform. So with that, we'll go ahead and we're going to do a demo. I'll tell you a little bit about PPM 360 while I start to share my screen so we can review everything. One of the things to note is that PPM 360 is a pre-configured solution. So that makes it really quick and easy for us to deploy it and then set it up, and then you can start using it. That quickness and that ease of deployment is really getting important because we are getting closer to that Project Online retirement date. So out of the box, we have a fully functioning solution that can guide you throughout that entire project lifecycle. And we're going to be looking at the out of the box versions today. With PPM 360, a lot of our customers that are GCC customers have also used our light version of PPM 360. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at both of those versions, and that way you can get an idea about which one might be the best fit for you. PPM 360 is a modular solution as well. It's made up of different parts. And just looking at our left menu here now, you'll be able to tell some of the different components. We've got an intake request area where you can submit ideas for new projects. There are portfolios and programs, a full resource hub, reports, of course. These are all parts that you can choose whether you need or not. So we're going to start off with the very beginning of the project lifecycle. Then we'll look at what a project looks like in PPM 360 Lite. And then we'll go over to the full version of PPM 360 just to see the full capabilities of it. Throughout the life cycle, we are going to be taking a look at the Power BI reports so that way we get insights to the entire portfolio of projects and all of our requests as well as we're working through things. So I'm here on the PPM 360 homepage now. The homepage consists of dashboards where we can get a look at how things are going. And the first thing that we'll do at the beginning of the project lifecycle is start to collect some ideas for new projects. So you'll see here on the left menu, the project requests. This is where we'll be able to launch the intake portal where we collect all of those ideas for new projects. Now, licensing is something that may come up throughout this project lifecycle. I will say that for the intake app, the end users that are submitting these requests or these ideas for new projects, they do not need a license to access this application. So this can be opened up to everyone in your organization. You may choose a smaller group of people to share this with, but whomever you end up sharing the intake app with, they don't all need individual licenses to work with this. So that makes it really easy for us to collect ideas from everyone. What we'll see in the intake portal are a lot of requests or ideas that have been submitted so far. We can click on this to get a quick preview and see how things are going. I have created this one for us just to save us a little bit of time during the demo today. But looking at this, we get to see where each request is in the overall process. So with this top one here, we can see that the request is drafted. But if we look at some of the others, we'll see that the request was submitted, approved, and then a project was created. So again, we're going to look at our out-of-the-box solution here, but I want you to keep in mind that if there's something additional you need, perhaps you would like somebody to be able to review requests and then somebody else to go and approve, those are all items that can be built in pretty easily. So keep that in mind. And if you have any questions about licensing, access, or possibilities, please feel free to jump in and ask or add those into the chat. So for now, what I'm going to do is open up the draft that I've created for us already, and then we'll edit that draft to get a look at what the intake form looks like. Just a quick orientation here. We have these different pages over here on the left side. Each page is going to have different data that we're collecting. So for request information, it's all information about what we're requesting. And some of this can lay the groundwork for the project that we create in the future. So we're collecting a lot of important data here. Some fields are required, some are not. A lot of what we keep in mind here is ease of use for the people submitting these so that we can encourage these ideas to be entered in. So I'll point out a couple of things here. For a more detailed review of our intake process, we did do a webinar last week that is on YouTube. So either we can share that link with you or you can reach out if you need any help finding it. But today we'll do more of a higher level overview. For the request type here, one thing to note is that there may be different types of projects that you're creating. So right at the top here, we'll see an example where we may be creating a project that will integrate over with Jira or Azure DevOps. So we can set that up as early as this. We might have a facilities project that's more of a light project, or we might have an IT project that is more full with the full project governance lifecycle and everything. So from here, we can start to decide what type of project is going to meet these needs. And those project types we have set up and ready to go so that when the project is created, it's set up with the right schedule template, the right workflow, and everything that you'll need. This also does integrate with Active Directory. So if we're going to look at, a project sponsor, we can start to just type in a name and select anybody in our organization. As we're working through this, we essentially just go through the different pages and fill in the information. So this project details page is more about what this project would look like. So we're getting an idea of our time frame, our budget, our benefits, both qualitative and quantitative. And then we can even start to say who the project manager should be. Just to make this easy for today, I'm going to put myself in there. But all of this data that we're collecting here is going to be visible in reports, and it'll also help us to make good decisions. The next page here is related to scoring. So with each one of these, sometimes we get in a position where we're collecting all of this great requests, but we need to be able to prioritize them. One tool that we use for that is the priority score here. So what we do here is we'll list out your business drivers, so expanding into new business and segments. And then for each request, the requester can rate how this particular request aligns with this business driver. And then based on the selection here, the priority score will update. This is, our demo environment, which we show pretty often. So it's very simply just showing a number here in the front and then adding that up. But this could be a weighted average. Sometimes, depending on our goals for a particular year or a particular quarter, they might change, right? So you can change the weightings of these too, so that we're really making sure that we're focusing on what the business goals are. And then finally, we can attach documents too. If there's something that would help somebody make a decision about this, we can attach files. And then when we're done, we'll go ahead and submit. Once the request is submitted, it will go out for review and approval, and then someone will start to act on this. So we see this is submitted here. The appropriate people will be notified. We have email notifications and also Teams notifications if you're using Microsoft Teams. And that process is starting right now. So if we are in a position where we have a bunch of requests that are submitted and we need to decide, which ones we're going to move forward with, one thing that is really helpful there is the reporting, right? And we have Power BI integrated with PPM 360 so that you can always consult with Power BI and then make sure that you're moving in the right direction. So we'll look at the approval process for this in just a moment. But for now, what I'll do is I'll go back over to our homepage. I just want to show the reports are nicely linked right there. And with the reports, our very first one is the request dashboard. So what this will do is it'll show the requests that are in the system and allow us to, slice and dice these a little bit and decide what we should move forward with. It may be that we want to sort by the priority score, right? And then really see which ones have the higher priority. If budget is a concern, we might want to sort these by the budget that's proposed, and that way we can make sure that we're staying within our goals. With this, we might also want to periodically come in here and make sure that there aren't any that are sitting there waiting for a response. So being able to click on this and just view what's submitted, those can help too. So with this, we can make sure that we've got the visibility and the way to prioritize these different requests and then make the decision about which ones to move forward with. When we do make these decisions, there are some other things we need to consider too, mostly our resources. So we'll have to check and make sure that we've got a project manager lined up. There's a portfolio timeline report that'll help with that. So we can choose a time frame here. Today is the dotted line that we see here. In that request that we just submitted, we had the start date being today. So if we're going to look through here and see who's available, right, we get an idea here about who the PM should be. You'll see this color is related to Neil. We can also hover over and get more details. So one thing that we know looking at this right away is that starting a new project today, Neil's probably the last one that we want to assign as the project manager. So now we know that we can choose between some of the other people that are listed here. If we're looking more at the resource team, we do have a couple of resource level reports that can help there too. So if we have an idea what roles we need, sometimes we even collect those roles on the intake form so that we have the data right here in the reports. But we can look to see what people are assigned to, how far along they are, if they have more work ahead of them. That'll help us to make sure that we're assigning people that are not behind on the work that they already have and that they're fully open to new tasks that'll be assigned to them. There's also a more forward-looking resource availability report that we can use. So if we're looking through here, we might want to filter this by role also to look at staffing those different roles. But the heat map allows us to quickly take a look and see who's available. So we can see here that starting in we're at the end of March, right? So pretty soon, Kavita is going to have a lot of availability. We'll see that I've got some availability in May and June, and that Mike has plenty of time, Nirupa as well. Stella's got some time open. So this helps us to look ahead and see that with the time frame that I proposed in that request, we do have these people that are available to start working. Being able to use these insights this early on in the process really helps us to make sure that we're starting out in a really good place. I think we've all been in a position before where, we've had projects or seen other people with projects where they set up the project team and then they learn about some other commitments and need to shift things around, which is, time consuming and may affect our project overall. Using our reports throughout the project lifecycle can really help to cut down on that type of changing in the future. All right, so we've got a request that we submitted. We consulted our reports and we know that we've got a good idea of who the project manager should be. We've got a good idea of the project team that we can start to build around them. And we have the confidence to know that the people we've selected are available and ready to start working on this project. The next thing we need to do is actually approve it so that it does become a project. So I'm going to go over to my email. I'm going to bring my inbox over here. Make that a little bit bigger. And then I also just want to show Microsoft Teams for a moment as well. It looks like I lost Teams for a minute, but we'll concentrate on the email portion. What I was going to show in Teams looks just like this. But what this is doing is it's the request for approval that's generated by me submitting that intake request. There's a link to the request so that before approving, I can take a full look at everything. We're going to assume that I already did that, and that's how we know what the dates are and the proposed budget and all that good data. And then here, we have some information from the request itself. So you can choose when we set this up what information displays in the email, but also you can choose the approval options. If there was something that wasn't exactly fitting, let's say the dates proposed didn't work for us, but we had some additional dates that might work better for this project, we could approve it and then communicate with the project manager to adjust those dates. We could also always say that we need more information from the requester. Maybe we want them to tweak something in that request and then resubmit. For now, I'm going to go ahead and approve just because that makes things easier for our demo today. And while I submit this, I just want to do a quick check. How is everyone out there? Does anybody have any questions about what we've seen so far?
Hey, Mia, I think there is one chat or question in the chat.
Sorry, it's on my other screen, so I have to look in a different direction to read that one. All right, can no longer purchase new licenses. Are there Plan 1 licenses suitable replacements for the Project Online Essentials licenses? There is a GCC Plan 1 license or Planner and Plan 1 license that would cover that and give access to most of what we're looking at today. There's also a GCC Level 3 license that would be more for the people that are managing projects, and it also is included with most of what we're going to be looking at today. Joelle, I'll pause for a minute in case you want to add anything.
No, that's correct. They can still purchase the Project P1 licenses.
All right, great. Thank you. All right. If any other questions come up, please feel free to jump in or add to the chat. So we approved that intake request. We can see the approval working through here. We see that it's creating a project. The next thing that I want to do is start to show more of PPM 360. The intake portal, all of that is part of PPM 360, the full version. And then what I want to do next is start to take a look at PPM 360 Lite, we'll look at first, and then we'll look at the full version. As the name implies, PPM 360 Lite is more of a streamlined version. So for example, When we look at the left menu here, it's a lot more streamlined, right? So we see the project plans, we see resources, the reports, of course, are here as well, and we're able to go directly into the project. So I'm going to click here and open up our project. With PPM 360 Lite, part of the reason we wanted to make sure to show this today is because we still have the ability to work through a full project lifecycle. We've got the reports that come along with it. We've got everything you need to run projects. But sometimes this is a nice way for people to get started, right? It doesn't have quite as much to it, and that can help the team to really quickly and easily adopt it. Part of the other reason I wanted to make sure that we look at this today is because we do have a fair amount of our customers that have GCC licenses that are using PPM 360 Lite. So it's an important step to have included today. So the way this is structured, there are these tabs along the top here. These tabs are all going to collect different data, very much like the different pages we saw in the intake form. On the summary tab, it's more general information. Okay, so a lot of this will roll up from different places, like our tasks section. You'll see the locked fields. Those are all fields where the data is populated from different sections. There is a project charter. So if we want to capture information or carry over information from intake, if that's being used, then we can use that here. There's a status section where we can capture weekly status updates. So here we can see week 1 status and a week 2. As we add status updates week by week, we get to see these, which is really nice because you get to see things as they change from at risk or in trouble to on track. And then with these, when you click on it, you'll see that there is a full status report. So each week, the PM can fill this out and then capture that status. It also rolls up into reports. I'll talk next about the risk tab. We'll take a quick look. Here's where you can enter in any risks that are set up in the system. I've started to draft one here, but haven't really completed it here. What we do for risks and issues is we base these on the best practices. All right, and then we capture the data there, and we also use it in the reports. Issues is quite similar, right? We have our issues list here. We can open one up to see what we fill in to populate the issues, and then the reports are going to show issues across all projects. The core of what we're seeing here is on the Tasks tab. This is where we'll see Planner. So like Charlene and I mentioned before, PPM 360 starts with Planner and then we build around it. So the Planner portion is excellent for managing your tasks. Looking at just this very brief schedule that we have here, we can see that we can fully set up all of these tasks here. We can make assignments, add notes to the tasks. There are all these different ways to categorize our tasks, which is a really powerful and helpful part with Planner, right? We can put things in different buckets. We can assign labels. It allows us to group all of these tasks and make sure that we're really paying attention to the tasks that need attention. And then there are options in here that Microsoft adds for us. So what Microsoft will do periodically is they'll release updates that really enhance what's already here. Part of what I want to talk through are some of the enhancements that have been added more recently. So one of the things that we can see here, and I'm going to collapse this menu to give us a little more space, is that we can do things in the grid view like add columns, right? We can add these columns that are preset by Microsoft. We can also create our own new field. And with this, you get to choose what type of field you're going to create. So it could be a text field where you're going to be typing things in, or a date or number. You can even create a choice field and then name that, and then identify what your choices are going to be, right? So this helps to really make each plan be set up in the way that you need it to be, in a way that works well for you. So our team, and after we do training, your team as well, will be able to create new fields on the back end, but using these, each project manager can set these up the way they need. you can even start to color code these options so that each one stands out to you. So we added our new field, and then I'll just quickly choose a couple of options here. So being able to set things up really helps, right? With these, we can also use these in the filters area. So if we ever need to really focus in on that field that we just set up, we can use that so that now we're filtering everything, or now I'm filtering everything on this one option. So that helps me to identify things. The priority, right, is also a filter, so we can use that to filter on the high priority tasks. But there are a lot of things that are built in automatically that make this really easy to use and really easy to make sure that the tasks that need attention are clearly set up and filterable. There are a couple of other things that we should point out on the board view. This is great for being able to categorize your tasks and being able to drag and drop. With these tasks, you can always open these up too. You can just click on it and then see more of the details. Here, we can easily type through these different fields. We can update things like the total amount of work that's included for this task. Even our custom column displays here. So we can even make these selections through here. And then also the dependencies we can add through here. With the dependencies, it used to be that we could just say that when task 1 finishes, then task 2 begins, right? Or when task 6 finishes, then this task begins. But now we can also add in different dependency types. And then we can also select a delay type if we need to. And as simple as that, we can add in more of an advanced dependency. Right, I'm going to close that task. That dependency is recorded for us. And with this, there are different ways that we can group these. You can create your own buckets, which is nice. So then you can group these any way you like. But then also you can group by progress. And then as things are completed, you move them from not started to in progress to complete. You can group by labels if you have those set up. I want to also just touch on the sprints because we did mention that there are projects that you may run or you may have agile projects. There is an option that I mentioned when we did intake where we can integrate with other tools like Azure DevOps or Jira or wherever you're capturing your actual sprints and doing your sprint planning. But Planner also has some of that as well. What we see here with this newer project is that automatically every task is here in the backlog, okay? And then what we do when we're ready to start a sprint is we go ahead and we name that sprint. We set up what the dates are going to be. So let's say this will be April 1st through April 8th. And then what we do is we can drag and drop tasks into the sprint. A lot of times when I'm doing this, I'll use a combination of filters too. So that way, with those different task attributes that I've set up, I'll be able to quickly know which tasks are unfinished and high priority. And that way I can really start to look at the t-shirt size if I've added that in here and really make sure that I'm building the sprint in the right way. And then when you're ready for sprint 2, you click on add sprint, you define that sprint and you set that up. One of the most recent things are the view options too. Now you can choose how you're viewing the dates for these. We should definitely look at the timeline view as well. Here you can see I've added dependencies to a lot of these tasks already. Some of these are dependent and have in the lead and lag time. You can see these when you hover over them. And if anything looks off, right, and needs to be updated from this view, you can click on a task at any time and open it up and then make the adjustments that you need. The last view that I'll talk about here, charts and people who've been there for a while, same with assignments, but the goals view is here too. And as we're working on projects, we have different goals, right? For each project, we might have a different set of goals. Sometimes for us, based on who we're collaborating with, we might have different goals set up. Sometimes there's compliance training or things that we need to do for legal purposes. So what we can do is set those goals up. It's quick and easy to add a goal. And then once you have a goal, this is a new one that I haven't added any tasks to yet, you can either create a new task, right? And then make your updates and your assignments. Or you could also use the connect task option to go ahead and select tasks that are already in your schedule. And then when you save, it'll add these to this goal. So here, what we're able to do is make sure that when we're doing our weekly review or bi-weekly review of our project, or sometimes even daily, right? What we can make sure of is that we're looking at our different goals and making sure that we're completing each of the tasks related to that goal. So that helps us to know as the manager of this project that we are staying on top of what's needed for this project and not missing anything. So this is one more way that we can group our tasks together and make sure that we're really highlighting the ones that need attention. All right, so those are the different planner views, which you'll see if you open up the Planner app itself or Planner in Teams. But wherever you open up Planner, you'll see these different views there. And with this, these tabs that we see along the top here, this is all PPM 360 Lite. So it's quick and easy to adopt. We've got all the power of Planner here. And then with it, the items that you might want to capture for projects like the status, the risks, the issues, and some general project information as well is all here. Since one of our goals for today is to talk about the entire project lifecycle, one thing that I want to point out is that for the light version, the most popular way to track different stages would be using a field like this one here. And these stages, any of these fields can be set up any way that you like, right? So remember that as we're looking at this, it's all highly customizable. So that's PPM 360 Lite. What we'll do next is we'll take a look at the full version of PPM 360. Sometimes in addition to what we see here, there may be more that you'd like to capture. So we're going to take a look at that. And then I do want to take a look at some of the other kind of differences that exist between for Planner within GCC. So I switched back over to the full version of PPM 360. Notice our menu is a little heavier over here. We see our project requests and approvals, which we've already worked through today. Timesheets may be included either with the light or the full version. It all depends on whether you need timesheets or not. And then we see our plans. There are also portfolios and programs. So as we're working on projects, if we do need to associate them with a project or portfolio, that option is there. There's also a full resource hub. Sometimes instead of just tracking the resources and their availability and their time off, sometimes we also need to track things like their ongoing availability and engagements and their role and characteristics. Characteristics can be any aspect of a resource that you need. Sometimes these are vaccinations, sometimes they are certifications or skills that people have. And what those do is they help us when we're looking to staff a project. If we need somebody that is an expert in Power BI for a specific project that's very Power BI based, then the characteristics section can help us to capture those details and make sure that we're identifying the resources in the right way and the reports that we've seen before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to plans. I want to open up a project plan and just kind of highlight a little bit of what the differences are here. So there is a little bit of a fancier view here with the plan timeline view. What we'll see here is a list of all the projects. And then in this Gantt section, we'll be able to see how every project is doing. So the green, as we scroll down, the green, yellow, and red, these are all based on the overall health status. So we saw that status tab earlier where the project manager can define the status of the project each week. That also is incorporated into this view. The blue ones are newer projects where we haven't really set a status yet. So that's why the overall health is NA and it shows up as blue, just so that we know that right off the bat. So we can see also how far things are progressing, and then we get to hover over and see some more detail there. We could open a project here But I also just want to show that with these projects that we are viewing here, there are different views. When we're talking about moving from project online, one of the things that I like to kind of come back to every once in a while is, what the similarities are and where some of the benefits are. So first, we've seen, this menu on the left. We're very familiar with that in Project Online. It's the quick launch that we've had since Project Server, right? So we can use this to navigate around and even put it into that focus mode that we used with Project Online and Project Server. One thing that is a nice benefit here is that in addition to having these views that are preset by the administrator and listed for everybody here, each person can go ahead and edit their columns and/or their filters and essentially create their own views. And when you create your own view, you can even set that as your default view. At any time, you'll be able to reset to this default view. But you have these different options here already. So this is a list of the project plans that I own. As I scroll down, we'll see the webinar project that we created together earlier today. I'm going to open up another project just because it has more data included already. And what I'll show at the top here is that there is a project governance workflow. So with the workflow at the top, this is where we can move through those different stages. In PPM 360 Lite, the last thing I showed there is that we were using a field here with a drop down to show the different stages. What we're doing here is we're capturing that along the top. So we can see the stages that have completed. This is the stage where we are now. We're waiting for approval to move from execution into monitor and control. This happens to have approval set up after each stage, but we can also set this up so that the PM moves from initiation directly into planning and into execution. So there are different options there to fit what your team needs. Directly below the project governance workflow, you'll see that there are a series of tabs here. So this is a lot like what we saw in PPM 360 Lite, but there is a lot more data that we can collect. And again, with all the data that we're collecting, some of it is related to details related to our tasks. Some of it is more project related, but all of it can roll up and display in those reports so that we can get that view of how everything is going. So here, we'll see that there are a couple of fields that we've built into PPM 360, like a Teams integration and a planner sync. There's also ability to sync or align a project with a program or a portfolio. So we can do that level of tracking as well. With this, there's also a place to track the business case and project charter, in addition to the status that we saw earlier. We can track financials. The tasks section is, again, planner. So that's the basis of everything. All of the great things that are built into Planner and all of the updates that Microsoft releases in Planner are automatically here for us. What we add to the tasks portion of thing is an ability to create inter-project dependencies. So if we have a task on this project that is dependent on a task from a different project, this gives us an option to add those in. This also provides more detailed task baselining that's more like what you would see with Project Online. So in Project Online, we've got multiple baseline fields, and then we can compare those. That's what's built into these views. And there are multiple views like this, so we can take multiple baselines. We saw risks and issues in PPM 360 Lite, but here we can also capture changes. And these are more like change request level changes. Here, we're not only tracking the change, but we can also track the review and approval of that change. So this has a Power Automate flow built into it so that when we're ready to request approval here, we change this to requested, and then whomever's listed here will be able to approve or reject this change. And all of that's tracked within this form. There are also decisions and lessons learned that we can track, all in line with best practices. So with this, we really do get that full experience of managing the project. I will say that, you may need something that's in the middle between the light and the full version. And one of the things to note is that because we're using Power Apps for this, it is, very easy to hide some of these columns or these tabs. And then if you're ready in the future, we can display those so that you can start using them. All right. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are a little bit different with GCC that we're still waiting on from, as far as Planner and the capabilities there. One thing is that with GCC licenses, there is this thing where we have tasks that are created and assigned here. And right now, if you have a premium planner plan and you create a task, if the person that's assigned to this task, let's say me and Aaron here or Nirpa here, if we go over to Planner, and I'll just open up Planner in a different tab. If we go over to Planner, those tasks aren't visible in the My Tasks area. So if we have a premium plan and those tasks are assigned, when the end user goes over to My Tasks, they won't see those tasks. We do have a little bit of a workaround for that. We've added this column here on the Summary tab called Planner Sync. Okay, and what this will do is it will make those tasks visible. So if we have Planner Sync installed and set to yes, then the tasks from the premium plan here that are assigned to people will be visible to them when they go to Planner and look at My Tasks. So they'll be able to see their tasks from basic plans and from premium plans. So that's something that's not available with out-of-the-box Planner, but it is available with PPM 360. And that option here comes as part of the out-of-the-box PPM 360 solution. One of the things that also isn't available now is converting a basic plan into a premium plan. But when it comes to PPM 360, all of the plans that are used here are the premium plans. So there isn't a need to convert or anything like that. There are a couple of other things that I'll show in a slide in a moment that are updates that we're looking forward to. One of them is being able to open a task and see the history of it. That's something that we hope will be coming soon. But there are a couple of things like that where the updates aren't quite there yet. But there are plenty of things, as we've seen today, that we can still do. There's a lot that we can do with the tasks and the latest updates that have come out. We can sync over with the My Tasks view using the Planner Sync column here, which is a big help. As you know, the more people that can see their tasks and easily access them, that makes it easier for them to update, which means that our project plans are more updated and more accurate, which then also translates to our reporting and us keeping accurate project schedules. So that helps a lot. And then we should also take another quick look at the reports. We saw earlier the request dashboard. Note that there are different reports. The portfolio level reports are all going to show every project. And then you use your filters to really focus on a specific program or portfolio. These all have kind of different vantage points, right? This one is more related to help. This is more about the general information we collect. We saw the timeline earlier. There's a milestone report. At the individual report level, there are also, or the individual project level, there's a status report. So this gives us a good idea of where everything is with our current project status. All the risks roll up into the risk dashboard. All the issues roll up here, changes as well. And we can use our filters and even our options here just to make sure that we are really focusing and making sure that we're capturing everything. This can help us to also filter down and make sure that any open requests that are waiting on a response, that we zero in on those and make sure that they're getting the attention they need. With resources, we already saw the resource assignments and the resource availability. And then for tasks, there's a task overview and then a task timeline as well. All right, so that is pretty much everything. I'm gonna stop now so that we have more time for questions. And if there's anything that you were hoping to see today but didn't see, please let us know so we can bring that up. Let us know if you have any questions, and then I'm gonna head back over to the slide deck for just a moment.